Also, you mentioned the Zoroastrianism, which is the ancient religion of Iran. And you said that there is still a small community of people that identify themselves as Zoroastrianists or Parsi, if I'm correct. Is that the right words?
So I'll explain that. Parsi is the term used for the Zoroastrians that left Iran around 1400 years ago after Islam and settled in the Indian subcontinent. So India and a very small community still in Pakistan. So they are referred to as Parsis, but the term Parsi is just for that Zoroastrian community in the Indian subcontinent, not the Zoroastrians that still live in Iran. The Zoroastrian community inside Iran never refers to themselves as Parsis. But yes, there is still a, a small Zoroastrian community that lives in Iran, and there are Zoroastrian temples, active Zoroastrian temples in the country. And despite the religious discrimination that exists because of the current regime in Iran, um, Zoroastrians are accepted as one of the religious minorities in the country, along with Christians and Jews. Whereas the other minority that is quite big in Iran, the Baha'i community, is not. They don't recognize them, and they actually are very highly discriminated against by the regime, not by the people. So the Zoroastrian religion, I do want to mention something that a lot of people maybe they've heard of the term Zoroastrianism, but what they don't know is that despite the fact that the numbers of the followers have dwindled, culturally, the Iranian culture today is very much based on the Zoroastrian religion when it comes to the festivals that we celebrate and the customs and rituals that all Iranians, despite their religion, um, consider as part of their identity. It is based on Zoroastrianism. For instance, the most important festival for Iranians is Nowruz, the spring equinox, the first day of the year. Uh, con- Called the Iranian New Year, but I mean, I personally just call it Nowruz because it's also celebrated by non-Iranians. That comes from Zoroastrianism. There are other ones like Yalda and Chharshamba Suri. There's a list of different festivals that Iranians still celebrate that come from Zoroastrianism.
And for the people that don't know what Zoroastrianism is, could you give a little bit of a historical background and what kind of influences Zoroastrianism had on other religions? Because it's not widely known that it was the first monotheistic religion, most likely, on the planet, and it has a lot of historical heritage to it. So, if you can, could you please elaborate a little bit?
Well, firstly, I'm glad that you mentioned the first monotheistic religion because a lot of people falsely claim that Zoroastrians worship fire, which is not true at all. They don't worship fire. Fire is seen as an important element, the same way water or it's not worshipped. So this is something that a lot of people get wrong. They falsely claim that Zoroastrians worship fire. No, they're monotheistic, just like Jews, just like Muslims, Christians. They believe in a single God. And this is an ancient religion that has definitely impacted other religions that came after. And some of those rituals, some of those, if you study the text, you'll see that uh, they are pretty much copied from Zoroastrianism. And the influence is not just cultural, but also within the scriptures. You know, let's say, for example, the concept of heaven and hell. This existed in Zoroastrianism. The a ritual of cleaning yourself with water prior to praying, which you see in some religions. The concept of praying 5 times a day at specific times. This was this is part of the Zoroastrian religion, and the list goes on and on. There are so many different things. Uh, and I know a lot of people might like to think that their religion is very unique, but we have to keep in mind that all religions, all belief systems have taken ideas from one another and influence one another. So it's very important. This is a historical fact. This is not about attacking someone's religion or trying to diminish or downplay what the religion is. It's just a historical fact that religions have influenced and impacted one another.
And I know that the Zoroastric texts are written by an ancient language which was called Avestan, and the holy book of Zoroastrianism
Mhm.
is called Avesta. So that is quite similar to the Indian Vedas and Sanskrit being the equivalents. So, how connected are such languages as, let's say, Old Persian, Avestan, and modern day Persian language? Are they closely related or have they changed a lot? Like, what happened there?
Well, Avesta is still kind of seen as the religious language of Zoroastrianism. Along with Old Persian, though they were the old Iranian languages, as you mentioned, very close to Sanskrit, and of course, also similarities are shared with Lithuanian, uh, which is quite noticeable once you start to dig deep into those languages. Old Persian is the ancestor of modern Persian. It was written in the cuneiform. The script has obviously changed. That's not used anymore. Even Middle Persian used a different script. But it is the ancestor of modern Persian. There are a lot of terms and words that are shared or in common, that are used in modern Persian today. But to understand the Old Persian language, it is not possible. Middle Persian, however, is to a large extent still intelligible to a modern Persian speaker. But when we go to Old Persian, Avestas, it becomes quite distinct and different, and that's natural. That's the same with pretty much every language in the world. But yes, they are connected and very much in common. They have a lot in common with Sanskrit, and also Old Persian is the ancestor of modern Persian. As I said, they do share quite a lot, but they're not. If somebody were to read something from Old Persian, it wouldn't be that easy to understand, even though you could probably pick out a lot of words.